So all of the notes of all of the chords of every single key are in here. And music's actually a double helix. These are the black and white notes on our piano. And here's the key of C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. German guy in the year 1025 starts at F, goes do, re, mi, gets to fa, finds B flat in the year 1025. First black note to be discovered. Somebody else starts at G, goes do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and they get to T, they discover F sharp, and then they find E flat, and then they find C sharp, and then they found G sharp. Literally took 425 years for the musicians to find those 5 black notes. Once they found the last black note, it makes all the other octaves possible, but it took a lot of time, and all these musicians trying to get together to make all this stuff work for them. By the 1750s, we end up with 15 key signatures. But music is all, this came to me in an extremely vivid dream after reading this book, Longitude, about a clockmaker. And then I had this very extremely vivid dream, which is this stuff over here.
Willoughby's dream, yeah.
Watching all of this stuff. And in a 5-minute dream, all these notes go by forward, so it all go in reverse, thrown inside of it, and tick-tock, tick-tock out. And then all of the keys, in this case here, it's a triple helix. Here's the key of C here, the key of D's here, the key of G's here, B flat, so on and so forth. But it is ruled by 4 sets of math that I call clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades, clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. And it's all about how it's going over the half steps, and each one of the major chords and the minor chords all add up to the number 7. This is how you would play it if you're playing it on your guitar. And that, as I say, at this point, it's a triple helix, as it is a bass 24 system, 24 notes, 12 majors, 12 minors, 2 sets of circles of fifths here. So then, in this extremely vivid dream, then it's going -3 + 4, -3 + 4, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So it went C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Then C's 9th is the note D. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. And tick tock through. So inside of this, like it's a clock. And extremely.
What does the left hand mean?
These are where you put your fingers on your guitar, and you're using your left hand. So to play the chord E minor, you're using your second and third fingers to hold those strings.
What a brilliant teaching device. Seriously.
Well, I didn't come up with it.
I know, it's on there.
Yeah. I found that off of some chord chart somewhere. I'm not a guitarist. I play piano. But making this, for guitarists, ukulele players, pretty much all the Western music.
And you were saying, Andy, that this took you 6.5 years.
Yeah.
That you drew each one of these small, looks like clock circles with all kinds of amazing calculations.
So, I'm glad you mentioned that. So our C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, it's double helix overlapping here, and it's by angle, 0 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 135, 180, 225, 270, 315. And as the hands on the clock spin around, the one that's going slowly is going through all of our octaves, our keys, and the hand that's spinning around quickly is pointing to each individual note. So I'd worked this out, and then I was at a music little festival several years ago. And here's the angles. But it's also like looking at moon phases. And the book Longitude was about this inventor, John Harrison, who figured out and solved what they call the lunar distance method by using clocks. before John Harrison, they were navigating ships around the ocean, and this is based around England, France, Spain. They're navigating ships around the ocean, but they're getting lost at sea very easily. And they used to use the sun, the moon, a tool called a sextant, the North Star, other stars, and a compass to navigate. It was complicated. Once the navigator took the angle from the horizon up to where the moon was, or to where the sun was, or the North Star, or whatever, it would sit down and it would take them 4 hours to figure out exactly how far away from their home port they were, how far up above the equator between there and the North Pole, your latitude. And so they take the measurement, they sit down and they start doing the math for 4 hours. By the time they get an answer, the wind blew them this way, current blew them this way, 4 hours has passed, but that's the best they could do. John Harrison, this clockmaker, figures that really what you need to do is just know what time it is at your home port, and a time difference will turn out to be an exact angle, but it's also like looking at moon phases as we're doing these angles. Solved the problem when he was 42 years old. So what happens here, let's sit down for a second. So back in the day, England, Spain, France, they're losing a lot of ships out on the ocean. They get out there, but if they can't see the coast, it was very, very easy to get lost at sea. And so they're building these huge clipper ships. They're putting a couple hundred, maybe 400 sailors on there, plus
Expensive.
the people who wanted to go to, let's say, Jamaica, and all of their clothes, their merchandise that they're trading. The ships would go out, and then say a hurricane came by, and it's cloudy, and they can't see the sun, they can't see the moon, they can't see the stars. It gets cloudy, and if they got blown far enough north, and then their sails would freeze, and then there's just a drift.
That's horrendous.
There is still
Horrendous.
ships up by the North Pole that were blown up there hundreds of years ago, stuck in the ice. So anyway, England.
Wow.
Is it war with Spain at this point? I forgot what year this was. It's just 300 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
So England sends 5 of their biggest, baddest battleships down to Spain, have a naval battle with Spain, kick their asses. Now they're on their way home. The navigator takes the angle between the horizon up to the moon, starts to do the math, but he makes a mistake. Thinking that they were 60 miles away from the coast, sun's going down, and just after sunset, they run into a place called the Skelly Islands, which is a whole bunch of rocks right under the surface.
Yeah, it's like 6 feet below the surface or something.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of tiny little islands, rocks sticking up depending on high tide, low tide, and stuff. So they can't see, and 4 of the battleships hit the rocks, sank, with close to 2,000 sailors. The last ship realizes what's happening, turns around, goes back out in the opposite direction, waits for the sun to come up. 16 of those 2,000 sailors survived. So anyway, the one ship that did survive, they get back to London. They say, well, we got good news and bad news. The good news is we kicked Spain's ass yesterday. Bad news is we lost 4 of our battleships the night before. So now England is desperate, as everybody was, navigating, to figure out a way to navigate ships around the ocean that would be a lot simpler than using the moon and the moon phases, what we call the lunar distance method. John Harrison, clockmaker, who, by the way, invented a whole bunch of stuff, realizes that all they really need to know is with a clock what time it is at your home port, what time it is out where you are out on the ocean, and that's an exact time difference, which would be an exact angle, and it took over 3 of the hours of the math, and now they can figure it out within minutes instead of hours. So England, I missed part of the story. So England offers this huge prize of, I think it was £30,000, which is like 3 point some odd million
that's
dollars.
a tremendous
for
amount of money.
anybody who can solve this problem. not thinking anybody would be able to solve it because it's so complicated. And but they thought that, well, if we offer this big prize, everybody will send all of these ideas into London. They'll be able to take everybody else's ideas, and maybe they could make one of their own without paying out the prize.
Right, yeah.
Well, John Harrison lives in Greenwich, or not Greenwich, but not too far from London. He hears about and he's already a clockmaker and designs this extremely accurate clock that could tell time out on the ocean, solves this problem, and became very rich and famous. One of the things that he had to do is, like, if it's hot out, the clock would tick fast, and if it's cold out, it would tick back and forth slow. So they had to figure out how to regulate it so it would tick-tock at a perfect without being...
So, Andy, can you explain how the clocks work that allowed them to be able to go to know where they are, not just at longitude, but latitude? I mean, not just latitude, but longitude. So can you understand the process?
Not 25 words or less.
All right,
very
cool.
It didn't go into a lot of detail.
It didn't?
Into some of
Okay.
the detail, but not into the fine...
Yeah, because it's fascinating how they'd have to take two clocks with them and things like that. That's just...
Yeah,
That's neat.
knowing what time it was at home.
Yeah.
What time it was. And so anyway, getting back to the story, my piano teacher hands me this book because I was navigating my notes around circles, and we were navigating ships around the ocean. I got 12 notes. We had 24 hours, and there was just a lot of things in this book that were so similar to what I was doing. My piano teacher gives me this book, so I was going to read the book. So I'm reading it over and over again, and then I had this extremely vivid dream where I was inside of Music's Harmony as a clock. And so anyway, I showed you the clock work on the other side.
Yeah.
So then at this music festival, it was about 11 or 12 years ago, and I got this chart. And this elderly guy, he's looking at my chart, and he comes up to me a little bit later. He says, did you know that all of your angles, say for instance 270 degrees, and you got a 292.5 degrees, you got 315. Look at all these numbers. 3 plus 1 is 4 plus 5 is 9. 2 plus 7 is 9 plus 0 is 9. 2 plus 2 plus 5 is 9. Every single one of these angles added up to 9. However, we got 337.5 degrees. 3 plus 3 is 6. Plus 7 would be 13. Plus 5 is 18. With 18, 1 plus 8 is 9. Every one of these angles reduces down to the number 9. It is like looking at moon phases. It's sets of math, our do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. Clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. Being operated by these sets of math that goes over the steps, over the half steps. It's kind of like pie charts. It's exact angles. It's not like a normal compass. So west is only pointing in. How do I put this in words without you guys thinking I'm crazy? But anyway, this is not the typical compass that you would use.
Right.
And it's not the same type of clock. It's this being a 6-to-1 ratio where our clock is 60 minutes 12. So we got 48 minutes, 48 seconds in this very
fascinating.
And like looking at moon phases. So as I was doing this, and I work outside a lot, and I'm reading this book, and it's all about the moon and these moon phases and stuff like that. And I'm watching the moon, every day because I work outside. And one day I realized that, like, I'm looking at it, but then 2 weeks later, the moon phase would be looking like that, where the eastern side was illuminated and the west side was the dark side of the moon. And a couple weeks later, it would be the total opposite moon, where the west side was illuminated, the east side. And I'm, watching the phases and stuff. And it just so happens that the clockwork, and if you're inside looking out to where the individual notes were and where they land, you got to stretch your imagination. I had to stretch my imagination. And it's like looking at moon phases. Music has nothing to do with our natural moon. However, the way that they are phased together is like looking at the moon phase, and every note would be a different angle as it goes around 6 times through the spectrum of sound.
It seems to go along with the natural, the deciphering the natural rhythms and frequencies of the building blocks of reality again,
I'm thinking
matching
so.
up with the moon.
I'm sure hoping so.
Amazing.
Then this can go in the opposite direction too.
Oh, it does.
We did do this before, so if we would, I think I went this way before, but you could go in reverse. This is basically like if you took your fingers right, it would go like that. Or if you went the other way, it would be the opposite. And then chords, this would be 90, the 48 notes, the 36 steps, and the very mysterious 12 half steps would be in there. But chords are just made up of 3 notes, 4 notes. So it's just these phased together. It's not the whole mumbo jumbo. It's just a few of these notes and the angles.
Yeah.
It's like C major. So would be like a new moon, eastern quarter. Well, full moon's down there, but just meshed together mathematically, phased together as the notes are. Difficult to put all this into words.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people ask me, they're like, "Well, why are you doing this? And what good is it going to be?" Well, kind of the way I look at this is Sir Isaac Newton, 300 years ago. The Black Plague went through Europe for the very last time. So I believe he's either, I don't know if he was a student or a teacher at Trinity College in England.
Oh, wow.
The Black Plague breaks out, and this is before they knew about infectious diseases.
Oh, right.
But thinks, well, everybody's getting sick. I'm going to get out of here so I don't get
Right, right.
So he's back home, and he's sitting in his parents' backyard at their apple orchard, and he's sitting on a tree reading a book, and suddenly an apple falls. And he looks back up the tree branches where the apples are hanging, but then he looks through the tree branches, and the moon's out there. Realizes the same force that pulled the apple to the ground is the same force that holds the moon in orbit. Comes up with the word gravity, but writes the mathematical strength of gravity so accurately, and did this 370 years ago, that when we want to put rocket ships up into orbit, we use the math that he had written. That
Isaac Newton came up with.
Yeah, with gravity.
Amazing.
And so I don't know what they're going to do with me 370 years from now, but there's an absolute order to everything that we hear in music. Angles, phases, numbers.
Wow.
Base 12 system, it's a base 24, it's base 48. Read between the lines, that's 96.
Amazing.
Doubling from 6 notes of the whole tone scale plus another 6 notes of the whole tone scale being 12, then being 24, then being 48, and then reading between the lines, the steps and half steps, so base 96. Amazing. And those numbers, 6, and the Nikola Tesla's,
right,
then 12, 1 plus 2 is 3,
right.
Then it's 24, 2 plus 4 equals 6, then 48, 4 plus 8 is 12, 1 plus 2 is 3, and 96, 9 plus 6 is 15, and 1 plus 6 is 15. That's all right. 96 is 9 plus 6 is 15, and 1 plus 5 equals 6. 3, 6, and 9 is Tesla.
Amazing. Amazing.
There's 96 separate drawings in here. And our octaves are keys. This would be where the key of, well, let's do F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. And then the key of C's here, the key of G's here, the key of D, A. Double helix of notes of two chords simultaneously going through this spectrum. Here's where you would put your fingers on your guitar, and it'd be 12 o'clock, 12:15, 12:30, 12:45, 1 o'clock, 1:15, 1:30, 1:45, and then at 2 o'clock, the next octave would start. And harmony is a clockwork.
Wow.
And I've had this all down to the Eastman School of Music 5 times and shocked them with what I discovered. And they were very helpful. And one of the times I was down there, and I'm showing the chairman of the music theory department things that I discovered. And I got my original drawing here, which is this. And he showed me some stuff in my drawing, which is really probably about 20 inches in diameter. He showed me some things that was in that drawing that I did not know was there. And I went back home and redid everything that I had done already. I thought it was done, but found a whole bunch of more stuff. So as this is like moon phases, as I was saying, this is all phased together. And this is kind of the original grid work of it all. And here is what I call the 1 o'clock wedge. So we got C, D, E, F, G, A, B in between these half steps. This is the easiest wedge to see. But then all of the notes are split into the moon phases. Here's where the half steps are, so those aren't there. If we divide it off into our clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades, clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades, it would be like looking at new moon and then eastern, what do they call that? Crescent, eastern quarter, eastern gibbous, full moon, western gibbous, western quarter, western crescent. Think I'm crazy?
No.
Yeah, you do. Come on.
No, this is amazing. You're seeing inside like the...
Yeah.
You're seeing how it
This
was
is-
the
this is-
vibrational tone, the vibration, the engine.
Yeah.
The resonant tone engine that is the life that is here.
So, C major, which would be C, E,
It's
G.
the building block for
C
reality.
major 7th would be C, E, G, and B.
Everything's
And
vibration.
if it was moon phases and it is angles, it would look like it'd be our root, our third, our perfect fifth, and our 7th. And then there's another set here, which are called the spades and the diamonds here. And again, that would be our root note, our third, our perfect fifth, 7th. It's on and on and on. Like looking at these different phases, everyone has an exact opposite. This is all the notes with the half step, which is very, very mysterious mathematical.
Yeah, interesting.
And then if we
Expanded
divide
short cycle, half step removed.
the 2 whole tone scales, which are basically not opposite, but 2 sets divided by the half steps, and these are the wedges. This is where I was looking over here. The F, G, A, B is right here. So here's where the half steps are, and there's 12 half steps in the spectrum of harmony. So if we take this and look at which notes are here, which notes are there, and here and there, and here and there, the notes C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp only land in the 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock wedge. The opposite set of whole tone scales, F, G, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, or we could call it E flat, only occur in 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock. In other words, 4 of these 6, 4 of those 6, 4 of these 6, 4 of those, 4 of these, 4 of those, 4 of these, 4 of those, 4 of those, in a perfect order.
And these drawings at the bottom. Steps and measures.
Yeah. So between the notes, we have steps, the notes that we don't use in an octave or a key. And like, for instance, this wedge here, what I call the 1 o'clock wedge, F, G, A, B are the notes that we use in our octave, in our key. The black notes, the 3 black notes there, are the notes that we do not use. And we got the half steps, so that's what this drawing is about. And their phases, their angles. Steps here without the half steps in there. And then the very, very mysterious mathematical half step. And again, let's look at these numbers here. So we got this angle. 112.5. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4, plus 5, 9. 292.5. 2 plus 9 is 11, plus 2 is 13, plus 5, 18. 18, 1 plus 8 equals 9.
Amazing.
Everything under the sun is in tune.
Everything under your sun is in tune.
But the sun is eclipsed by the moon. I don't know about where you live, but I was so disappointed that we had the eclipse and
Oh, I know.
we didn't get to see it.
I know. At least it got dark.
Yeah, it did. Very.
That's neat.
But
So, Andy, when did you realize that you could solve, for instance, I'm just a little foreshadowing to another episode with you or another interview with your prime numbers and solving them?
Well, I'm available. Got too much time on my hands.
Right on.
I wish I could be retired from my regular daytime job.
Oh, I know. Yeah, me too.
Well, hopefully, I would love to find a grant where I could quit my daytime job and sit at my drawing board day after day and get everything that's up here out, and then get it out to the world, out to colleges and wherever.
Absolutely, Andy. I really hope that happens for you.
I'm describing sound waves.
Yeah.
I'm describing all of the notes of all of the chords of all of the keys of every song you ever heard in your life is in this diagram. I'm describing sound vibration, what we can hear.
Sound vibration.
But if we went from the bottom of the piano and we kept on going up the piano beyond where we could hear, we couldn't hear it anymore, but your dogs could hear it.
Right,
Cats can hear it. Birds would be able to hear it.
Yeah.
But then if you go up beyond that, would I be describing also stuff above where we could hear? Microwave, gamma rays.
Oh, yeah.
Or if we went from the top down to the bottom and kept on going, would we get down to where I believe radio waves are very long waves?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And again, it's way below what we could hear, but if everything is an angle, and I'm describing it, would, as we went down below where we could hear or above where we could hear, I believe these numbers
would be all the same.
Yeah, all the same.
Amazing.
I think.
Well, yeah, probably. I mean, probably.
So then I have a second dream.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
We're not going to go too far into that.
Okay.
This is the first dream. This is the clockwork of it all.
Yeah.
And so, like I say, this is crazy. I discovered this by going to church. It was crazy. I was an atheist. The only reason I was going to church is I heard it was a great place to meet women. Still there every Sunday. And
That's hilarious.
I started going to
probably
church when I was in my early 20s. Like I said, I wasn't really started looking for women, but it started making a lot of sense, a lot more sense than what I was hearing on the rock and roll radio station and stuff like that. So I'm praying. I have this dream, then I'm praying even more. Once I had that first dream, I started praying a lot. God, I want to know more. I want to know more. I want to be able to write this down. I want to figure all this stuff out. I also want to become world famous in my lifetime.
Right.
And so a year and a half after I had my first dream, I had a second very extremely vivid dream. Like the first dream was very vivid. In my second dream, I'm it was very foggy at first, and it was kind of like way off to my left, and I'm seeing a trail of these 3-note chords in kind of like in this, but they're all simmering, kind of like they're melting, like in a big pot of like, you know, vegetable soup kind of thing. It's like this kind of steaming
Yeah.
in my eye, and I'm seeing a trail of these, and then suddenly, B flat, the chord B flat is coming down very, very slowly, and I'm looking at this shape from underneath, and I realize it's B flat, and it's coming down very slowly. It did not stop, but when it got to eye level, it was like taking a sheet of window glass
Yeah.
and looking at it through the edge. I saw through it, and then it comes down, lands on my original drawing, let's say this, lands on there, kind of exploded in, but then melted in, and I'm watching it simmering like it's like a big,
Yeah.
big pot of vegetable soup, for instance, is simmering away, and all of this stuff's going on over here. And then it looked very slowly up in, and now I see the chord C major, C, E, and I'm watching it from underneath, but I know it's C major because I'm looking at it. And again, it's coming down, and it didn't stop, but I looked through it like I looked through a piece of window glass as I went through. It comes down, lands, explodes, melts in. I very slowly look back up, and now I'm seeing D minor coming down, and I'm recognizing it's D minor from underneath, and it's D, F, and A, and I'm watching the shape, basically this little circle thing, coming down, and again, it doesn't stop, but I look through it, it lands, melts in, very slowly. I'll look up, E minor's coming down, E, G, and B, and I'm watching it, and it's coming down, it gets just past where I looked through, and I realized I was having another extremely vivid dream, and I said to myself in my dream, Andy, wake yourself up. I popped my eyes open, I ran out, and I got my original drawing, and then I'm measuring where each one of the notes of each one of those chords that was in the dream mathematically fit perfectly into our piano notes, into the dream. I had not a clue. I did not have a clue that was going to do it.
Exceptional.
Until I had my second dream.
Right.
And then last night I had a dream that I was a car's muffler. I'm strapped under the car, the engine's roaring away, the catalytic converter's there, I look behind me, there's a tailpipe, but I'm dreaming I'm the muffler. And this morning when I woke up, I was exhausted.
Andy, did your piano teacher ever get to see the fruition of this?
No. When I was getting my 13 piano lessons from him, his name was Philip, it probably about the fifth or sixth lesson, where we were sitting there, and he's teaching me all the basics. And he looks at me out of the corner of his eye, kind of like this. He says, Andy, wait till the car gets back. He says, Andy, I went to my doctor, and my doctor told me it's been nice knowing me.
Really?
Says, what? He says, I'm dying. He said, I got 5 months. I've got cancer. But due to people praying for him and chemotherapy and all that, he ended up living well over 6 years.
Wow.
His doctor gave him 5 months, but thank God for modern times and modern medicines. And I was telling him all along that people got sick for centuries, decades, millennia, and people were praying for them to get better. They're praying for doctors, nurses, medicines, and all of that throughout all of time up until now, our modern times. And everybody's prayers for the past from hundreds of years, decades ago, are being answered now in the modern medical miracles, drugs, chemo, better hospitals.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, science is, I tell you, it's pretty amazing. Putting on fingers and new knees to.
Yeah. And because of all of that, back when my parents were still alive, I was watching the national news,
Yeah.
and they said that our generation, we're outliving our parents, grandparents' average age by 20 years because of modern medicines and operations. We're eating better and stuff like that, taking better care of ourselves. That we're outliving our parents by 20 years.
That's amazing.
I stopped by and I told my mom and dad that is one evening. And so my mom's mom lived to be 101. My dad's mom died when my dad was 9. So my mom, she's over there doing the math. My dad's like this, I'm dead. He said, I should have died years and years ago. I said, no, you're one of these people who outlived their parents' average age.
Right.
And also, he quit smoking when I was a teenager. And somehow or another, smoking came up in a conversation when he was in his early 90s.
Amazing.
And I said to him, I said, Dad, you remember you quit smoking? He said, oh, yeah. I said, we probably wouldn't be sitting here talking today if you didn't quit smoking
Right.
back 30 years ago.
Right.
Said,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Yeah, you're probably right. So it's better taking care of ourselves.
Amazing. Love it, Andy.
So I don't know
right.
where else to go with all this today.
Yeah.
But
Well, thank you, Andy. I'll come up with some other stuff. You're endlessly fascinating, and I know you've had some other dreams. I know you've been working on some other new additives to your amazing.
So this came to me
Sunum bonum.
in 2 extremely vivid dreams.
Great work.
This, and then another dream with the 3-note chords falling onto all that. And many years ago, I was working out the prime numbers, just for the
Right.
heck of it,
Yeah, back to prime
and
numbers.
plotted out the prime numbers on my piano, and it is also a chord.
Wow.
And I'm showing everybody, it's like, oh my God, Andy, you are crazy, but look at this, and I'm showing them these patterns. So I decided to take a year off, and from the time I started, I set a deadline of having it solved in 1 year.
And did you? I know that they had $1 million prize for the prime numbers. Were you able to?
Some Japanese guy.
Oh my gosh, he beat you to it.
Yeah, he beat me to it.
Jeez.
And it was complicated. There's something called Riemann's hypothesis, and I'm not enough of a mathematician.
Right.
But
It's amazing that you were able to do it on musically with your incredible,
it's
almost angular-like superiority in music.
It is a chord. It's not a chord that's on here, and I'm not going to tell you what the chord is because that's a personal secret. That's intellectual property.
Right on. We're going to get that patented.
Yeah, well, copyright.
Copyright at least.
Yeah.
Right on. Sorry about that. Oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, no,
And
it's
also
very apparent.
took the Fibonacci sequence.
Right. Yeah.
And put that to music, and I took the Fibonacci sequence, the 12 notes on my piano, repeated over and over, and the vortex math, and combined all 3 of them.
Wow.
And found that each one of the rays of numbers, we're talking about the rays of that red and green triangle, and all the notes are hitting in certain rays. Always.
Wow.
And so, but I tried contacting the colleges and telling them what I'm doing. It's like, and who are you? My name's Andy Willoughby. Where are you from? Gates Child. Where'd you go to college? Skipped school at Gates Child. I didn't go to college. And you figured this out? I said, yes. And how did you figure it out? It's like, on my piano. And they said, well, I don't play piano. I said, you don't need to. I can show you how to play. They said, you didn't hear what I said. I told you I don't play piano, and they hung up on me. Called somebody else, same thing.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
Just in February, I was at a gig. I'm showing everybody all of
It's
this.
truly amazing. There's like that you can really only tell people something that they already pretty much have a grasp of, and then if they can't, they just shut down.
Totally different than how they do it. So.
Oh yeah, no, you've blown me away.
Yeah.
You've blown me away. I've been knowing you like 6 years now.
Everybody, music teachers, music theorist people, and in February I was over at the Village Gate. I had a gig there, and I've got all the stuff on my charts. And I'm talking to these people, and the guy looks at me. One of the guys looks at me and says, "What are your degrees in?" I said, "Well, I'm from Canada, so my degrees are Celsius."
Celsius. We use the metric system there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, the metric system.
And, but I didn't go to college. As I say, I insulate older homes. This might look complicated. I insulate these big old houses. That's complicated. There's no order in any of that. Every house is different. If you point the,
I was going to say we'll go over because
Yeah.
you actually insulated that one.
I put 2.5
Kitty corner.
tons of insulation in that little shack, this mansion that was built for the first female doctor in Rochester. However, she may have been
Whoa.
the first female doctor in North America.
Wow, look at that.
From what somebody, but John,
Amazing.
or not John, who John? Mark Holden.
Right, of course. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, we got a lot of
Gosh.
history right here.
Well, Andy, it's been a pleasure as usual. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure, thanks.
I
for
really
coming over.
hope people start buying your product, and I really hope they start listening to you so you can have your grant and to get all this on paper before you
No one
move
needs
on.
to know the math, the science.
Yeah.
No one needs to know the math, the science. This is the practical part of my music teaching device. All we need to know is we're looking at our sheet music. We need the chord F sharp with an M7.
Yeah.
F sharp A, C sharp E, F sharp A, C sharp E. Slide it underneath guitar strings, F sharp A, C sharp E. You just need to find your notes, play 3 or 4 chords, and
Amazing.
that's all you really need.
I love it. And you can join the
So yeah,
music
so,
of life.
at chord teacher.
ChordTeacher.com.